Hey guys, and welcome again with a new video. Before to start to create a website, let me take a couple minutes of you because I need to explain most important thing you should know about this video. So please don't skip it because you might miss something, and I want to show you there are three parts of creating a website with no image and two of that with image. Okay, first part is a simple and easy to learn it and fast, absolutely beginner. Even the animation is for beginner. Can learn it easy. And don't worry, if you think you are not good in animation, just keep watching my videos. Use the same animation that I use the same way. And when you reach the next level of animation, you want to learn a new animation. And if you love using animation, you become a master in animation. Just keep using animation every day. Now I created this video for a student that just finished a learning HTML and CSS course and don't know about the JavaScript or hated using JavaScript and they want to start a create website and don't know how to start it. So this video is for you 100% and keep watching until the end and use it to create better than this. First of everything, we're gonna create a website with any image. Yep, that's right. We will create a website with CSS like a designer. Maybe you think it's not good, or we can use image or GIF instead of this. Well, of course you're right, but I want to show the power of the CSS. How we can use a CSS like creating image in a Photoshop and make it move with the animation. Now everyone think CSS is just a simple coding, simple style. We always use the same design every day, every website, every year, the same design, and nothing changed. But know this, CSS can be great with the JavaScript. But again, the project is as simple, guys. If you think it's not good or not worth it to learn it, you can skip it. And of course, there are many designers now creating a very nice website. Okay, now for the part 2, we're gonna create advanced website of the CSS. Well, if you see my website, it's same design that I created here. And of course, I didn't use a JavaScript for my website. Just a little JavaScript for a menu and little something more using a JavaScript. And I don't know, I just wanted my website to be a simple design, simple art, just using a CSS. Now it is the same design if you see here, but the animation again advanced. And we add a color for background and little circle here and here. And yep, these two before and after of the CSS that keep rotated. It's like this website of my page of a video of courses. If you see this, you're gonna love it, guys. And yep, I didn't add a new stuff or new pages for my landing page. I just wanted you guys then create this square and circle, and most of that these two before and after that keep rotating with the animation. And guys, if you don't love using before and after and CSS, you can create a website with the image. I upload the video in the same day and you can create it with just image. And about the image, don't worry about that, about the copyright. I created it with the Photoshop by myself. Oh, well, I know I'm not good enough photo creator, so let's keep going, guys. And before we create a part 2 of the video, you must learn two things for this video and for the third part of the video. First is how to use a cubic bezier. As you can see, the animation that I use here is cubic bezier. And it's simple, guys. I'll show you a way how to learn it and how to use it in your design. Now, next thing you must learn it is how to resize a before and after of the CSS in media. Now, what I mean by this, imagine you have a lot of before and after, like 10 or more than 10 of before and after CSS. And if you're not using image, every time you must call the name of the before and after in media. For each before and after that you created here, you must resize it in a media again, and that's not good. Now the best way to let all of that resize it just in one code instead of using the width and the height and call the name of every before and after that use CSS that I will show you in my next video. It's just a simple code and you will learn it fast. It just take 2 or 3 minutes, I guess. Yes, and I promise guys, every time you go in a media, you're gonna use this even for image or other thing because it's so good when you find out about this trick. Now let's go for the third part and the best part. Yep, you're gonna love it, guys, because it's master CSS. Now this is a website when using a CSS, the real CSS. Yep, it's very nice created, again with no JavaScript. And sorry if I just keep saying this, guys, but imagine use a JavaScript with this CSS design. god, you will become absolutely master designer. Now here you can learn many things, including animation and color up with the CSS and more. Now let's start with the first one. As you can see, the background color of all of the website, even the box shadow, and everything keeps changing. Now if you think this is a JavaScript code that's keep a change a color every minute or second to let all this happen, no, it's a CSS, and you're gonna use it every time or every day. If you want to change a color, you will add this as some code that you will learn it in the third part. Now maybe sometime you see your website, it's too dark, for example, and the color is too black or dead. You're gonna use a distract to light up the website, or you can add a more dark to your design. Now let me show you what I mean by that. And you can see this is a dark to let all the color be darker. Now for the light color, to have a light, and you can see the color is better now, and you can add a more color for it. Now as a teacher, I don't recommend to use a more light because the font will be crushed, just like you see here. In the more detail about this code in the third part, you're gonna learn it, guys. Now let's continue. Okay, here I add a circle creating with the CSS. Now the circle, as you can see, I get idea from a channel name. It was a slaying of the dragon. That's one day he created a video and he showed the project, but didn't show to his subscriber how to create it with the animation. Is this, as you can see, the animation, and for more detail, guys, in the third part you're gonna learn it. And we're gonna get, instead of the image, we use a before and after CSS. And I think using before and after much better. I create a third part with the image. If you again not loving using CSS of the before and after, you can watch a third part with the image that I will upload in the same day. Let's scroll down. Yep, everything you need to know is here. It's just a simple website created with the CSS. Now what I mean by the simple, we don't have any database. Now database is most important thing for creating website. And this is common from a JavaScript mastery channel of the course that is created website with React, I think, yes. And he used image to create it with React. But we're gonna create it with the before and after of the CSS and add a more animation and add a nice effect. Now here's the best part, that is creating a cards, and the main reason of creating this part. Now let me show you something. Sometimes you want to add animation in hover. For example, I have this card that add the same before and after of this design, but I want when a user hover it, the animation start faster. So we add the same animation that we use it here, and we decrease a second of animation. But here is a bad problem. You can see in a hover, it's create a new animation, and the first animation crash. You just keep create a new animation. This is the worst part when a designer want to create animation in a hover, and this is a reason why they hate CSS, and they never find the answer in Google or Stackflow or other website to solve this problem. And I don't know, I just keep research it, but I didn't find the answer, guys. Now to solve this problem, of course, you can use a JavaScript. I know a JavaScript can fix a problem, but I promise you, we just use HTML and CSS and no JavaScript. And this part of creating code, I will create a part of this video for designers that have the same problem and they want to solve this problem, guys. And don't worry, because instead of the JavaScript, you can use this option or trick that I'm going to teach you as a teacher to cover and to solve the bug of the CSS. Now, as you can see, it's not better than JavaScript, but there is no problem with this. If you see here, it's not that bad, guys. It just cover the bug, or you can see the bug that we can't fix it in CSS. That's okay, guys. But wait for upload the third part of this video, guys, in my channel. And to be honest, guys, I'm working alone. So if I didn't add a new video in a week, that's because I create alone, must create a nice subtitle for all the language of the person that can read it, and how to use animation, learn it better. Now, if I just end this and go to create a first part, give me another minute, please. Anyway, this 3 part is free, guys, and you can learn it in my channel of the YouTube. But please, guys, please, all I ask is just subscribe to my channel and join to see a new design every day new code every day because I want to have a more subscriber to become a YouTube partner to earn a little money from creating this design and this video, guys. But seriously, guys, I want a real subscriber and want to learn more about coding. And even if you're not a developer of the website, you wish to start coding of the HTML and the CSS and the JavaScript. But guys, please, if you're watching this video, please support me to grow my channel, and thank you for giving me your time to explain everything of the third part. Now let's go to create a first part of the website. Okay, let's do it. First, like always, we go with the HTML. I create a first div and let the name be hero. Inside it, let's create a header div. Okay, inside the header, create h1 and add the name for it. Let be a logo and type a logo. Okay, next let's create a nav list menu. Add a for list. First list be home, second about, third blog, and the fourth content. By the way, I didn't add a link because I just created a website landing page. And to be honest, the real reason is I didn't add the position fixed in header, so let's be without any a link. Let's continue. Okay, this is our header. Okay, let's see this website. As you can see, we have a title here and little square with a circle. So you can use a flex or grid. I go with a grid. I know flex is simple, but to be honest, I love a grid. So let's create a box for a title box and a square box, and let's name it project 1. Now inside it box title, let's call it home text. And for a square box, let me create a div and name it home image. Okay, in home text, create h1 for this, and let's type AI payment generation. And add p, let's type the same description. Now for home image, let's create a 3 div because we want to create a square and 2 circles. So first div, let's name it square, second div, circle, and the third div, circle 2. Okay, we done our hero page. Next section is about page. Okay, let's create a section inside it. Let's create for all of these div to be just one box to add some little style for it. And let's name it about. Okay, now focus with me because we're gonna create a lot of div. So first is little text here. Let's create a div for it and name it about text. Now let's add h1. Explore the payment. And for the p, let's type the same description and add a link. B start now. Good. Now let me teach you how to create a div when you look to other developer, how they made this section and how they made the website. First, this is a box that have all 3 of these. So let's say he is a boss, and let's name it about pay. VS Code, good. Okay, about pay is a box. I see we have a 3 box. By the way, I use inspect to see box div. Okay, now think, what code can make a box be in same line or in another line? In the same line is a display flex, and in another line is a flex to action column. So we create a flex to action column for this because these 3 div in another line, as you can see it, and this is why we create about pay to let all the boxes that have here be in the next line. Okay, now inside our box, I see 3 boxes that have icon and title in the same line. Yup, we use a display flex to be in same line. So let's create a div and let's name it display pay, just like this website. And let's create icon div and let me add the same icon that I add here from this website of Ion Icon, guys, if you want to use icon. Now let's create this little text. Let's add a div and name it about text. And we're gonna use this div for every box that we want to add a text. Now let's add the same title and the same description. I will do it fast. And now just copy and paste it 2 times. And let's change icon and the text. Okay, nice. Next is a block. We create a new section. Now inside the section, let's create a div and name it blog. Now let's see this website. We have this div box and this 4 box of blog. So let's create it. First, I start with this 4 box. So I add a first box div because I want to use a grid for all items. Now inside the first box, let's create a blog box and add about text. Inside it, okay, we add the same text. Now we don't use image in this video, so we're gonna create a square and circle again. Now let me create a new name for it. Add a square blog div. Now h3, let me type the same title, how to create a square, and for the p, let's type and learn how to create it. Okay, let's add a link and b read blog. Now copy and paste it 3 times. Let's change a square and be a circle, and this too. Good, we're done. This is a 4 box. Now let's create a second box div. Now inside the second box div, about text, let's type the same text for h1 and p. Good. Now for contact, let's create a section and create a div contact. Now inside the contact, add about text and h1 and p. So let me type it fast. Okay, let's create a form. So in a form, I create input, type a text. Let's add a placeholder, enter your name. Next input, type an email, placeholder, enter your email. Now text area, placeholder, enter your description. And let's create a button, submit. Type a submit and submit. Okay, we're done a contact page. Next is a footer. Create a new section. Now inside this section, create a footer div. And now inside the footer div, let's create this logo with the text. So let's create a div and name it logo text. For h1 be a logo and p be a new way with AI payment. Now for links, let's create a div to have all link inside it. So let's create a div and name it flex footer. Now inside the flex footer, let's create a cool div to have all link. Now add a p and be useful link. And add a link. First one be a content, second work, third create, fourth explore, 5 terms and services. Copy and paste it. Now let's change a text and a link. Okay, good. Let's add a last section for copyright and add a class this in a section. And instead of create a new div, and the name of that be a last. Now inside it, create a div, name it copyright. And now inside the copyright, add about text. Okay, add the p and add the text inside it. Now the reason why I create this copyright div, you can add a link if you want and add a display in a copyright div to let both a link and this text have a space, but we don't need a link. Let's create a style sheet, a style.css, and a style sheet again, media.css for a media. Okay, good. Let's go CSS and start our game. Okay, so let me add a star and let the font family be a system UI. Okay, create a body. Let all color of the text be white. Hashtag EB E6 F1. And the background be this. Hashtag 18171B. Now, like always, we want to create a box of our homepage. So call a hero and add the width 100% and the height 100 VH. And by the way guys, you can add the WebKit scroll bar to style this scroll bar of your website. Just copy this code and paste it, and I don't think we need to explain it. Now for header, let's add a padding 40 pixel top bottom and 10% for left and right. Display flags, justify content, be a space between, and align item, be a center. Now let's call a nav and add the display flags to let all a link be a same line, and the list style type be a none to remove this circle list. And now for change color, let's create a nav LIA, and the color be the same color that we added in a body. Copy and paste it. Text decoration be a none to remove a text decoration, and add the padding 10 pixel and 30 pixel, and the margin 0 pixel and 10 pixel. Add the transition for little effect. Now for hover nav LIA hover, the color be the same, but let's add a box shadow of this color. I will explain how to use a box shadow, but let's go and continue. And border radius be 20 pixel. Okay, let's call a logo. Add the font size be 2.5 rem for our logo. Now let's create H3, H1, and P to set the font size. So I start with the H3 and the font size be 1.6 rem. Let's add the font weight. Also margin bottom 10 pixel to add a little space, and line height 35 pixel, and the max width be 500 pixel. And now for H1, let me copy this and paste it, and let the font size be 2.5 rem, and let's remove a line height, and instead of that just add a little spacing 2 pixel. Very good. Now for the P, let's copy it again and paste it here. Let the font size be 1.3 rem and the margin bottom 35 pixel. Okay, all the font size set it. Now let's create a section to go in the next page of our landing page. So add the padding in a section and be a 0 pixel top, 10% right, 170 pixel bottom, 10% left. Okay, now as you can see, title font size is not good, so let's create a custom font size for this title. Just copy H1 and paste it, and add the home text H1. Okay, font size be a 3.5 rem, and add the max width 500 pixel. Okay, now let's go to create a grid and a square with a circle. Let's call a project 1. Let's use a display grid instead of flex. Grid template column be repeat to 1FR. Okay, and align item be a center. And add a padding 0 pixel 10%. Now let's add a position absolute. Width be 100%, top 15%, left 0%, height be 60%. Transform translate Y minus 15%, and we add the position to be in center of our home page. Okay, good. We have a grid. Now let's create home image of our square and circle. And the width and the height be 100% of this home image. And set the position relative, so that we can create a before and after CSS. Okay, now let's go for a square. We're gonna create a square and we create animation in the last lesson. So content be empty, position absolute, top 15%, left 50%, transform translate minus 50%, minus 50%, with the rotate 45 degree. Okay, good. Now for width and the height be 270 pixel. Now background be hashtag 24, 29, 30. And now for box shadow 0 pixel, 0 pixel, 15 pixel of this color. And now for inset 5 pixel, 0 pixel, 10 pixel of color white to add a little white in the top of our square, as you can see it here. And now for black, minus 5 pixel, 10 pixel, RGB 50%. And the last inset 30 pixel, 10 pixel, 35 pixel, and 10 pixel of RGB 20% of this color. So this is a box shadow just like you see in the first video. And now add the border radius 15 pixel and add a transition for hover effect, and done. Now just copy and paste it 2 times. And instead of a square, let's change a name to a circle, and this be a circle too. Now just reduce the size of a circle and change a position of our circles. So for first one circle, top be a 28% and left 86%. And for width and the height be 100 pixel. And the border radius be a 15%. Okay, this is our first circle. And for circle 2, top be a 72% and the left be a 6%. Now for width and the height of this circle 2 be a 60 pixel. And let the border radius be a 50%. Very good. We finished our home page. Just need to add animation, but we're gonna add in our last lesson. So don't worry about that, we finish it fast. Okay, let's create hover for a square and circle. A square hover, circle to hover. Now let's change a background and a box shadow. So background be a hashtag EDFCFF of the white, and the box shadow be a this 0 pixel, 0 pixel, 10 pixel of this color, 0 pixel, 0 pixel, 15 pixel of this black color. And for inset be the same both for first one, but we change a next inset that have a black color into white 15%. And the black color set it to the last one. Very nice. So this is our home page, guys. Now for above page, let's style it. Add a display grid. Grid template column. Repeat. 2 1FR. And align item be a center. Now position be a relative and grid gap 50 pixel. Now for above text, I think everything is good. We don't need to style it, but we go for this second box. So let's call it about pay and add the display flex and the flex section column. Very good. Just like I said in the first video, when we create HTML, and now every box is in another line. And now add a grid gap be a 50 pixel to have a space. Now good. Now for display play, I want to icon and the text be a same line. So we add a display flex and align item be a center. And add a grid gap 50 pixel and add a padding 15 pixel to create a nice box inside it. So let's call icon and set the position relative because I want to add a square for icon. So we need a position relative. Okay, next icon, icon. Font size be 2.0 rem. Color be a white. Let be this color. And the padding be a 10 pixel. And the background be black of this color. And the border radius 15%. Good. Now let's create a little square for it. So come back to a square style that we created here. Now copy it and paste it. Okay, I paste it here. Now let's change a name and be icon before. Okay, for width and the height be 80 pixels. Everything is good. Very nice. And now if you want, you can add a background for this box of icon and a little text here, and you can hover it. Now let me show you what I mean by that. So here I add a background, as you can see here when you hover it. Oh, let's add a position relative for display pay. Yep. Now so this is a background that I created, but I didn't like it. If you want, you can add it. Just pause the video and type it. Okay, let's continue now for a link that we have here. Now let's call about text A. Font size be a 1.2 rem, add a padding be a 15 pixel and 25 pixel. Text to correction be a none and the color be white. Position be a relative to add a before for it. And the z-index must add it be a 1 and for the transition I add this okay, scene. Okay, it's a shame I can add a cubic bezier for it. That's okay, we create a cubic bezier in part 2. So now for a border radius be a 40 pixel, background be a transparent to be a same background of a body, but we use a box shadow for it. So 0 pixel, 0 pixel, 15 pixel of this color. Now for inset 0 pixel, 0 pixel, 7 pixel of this color white. Now copy and paste it again. Let's change the number. Let's change the 7 to 9 pixel instead of 7 pixel. Now let's add a transition and add a border 2 pixel solid transparent. Okay, now let's create a before and after a link. For before a link, we want to create this a little square. So let's do it. First, let's copy this circle of the style, as you can see here, and copy it and paste it. Now paste it here. Now let me change a name. Now the top be a 72% and the left 150%. And the width and the height be a 50 pixel. Okay, height 50 pixel. Very good. Now a square is not the center of a link because I want to add animation to go top and the bottom. So let's not change the top or position anything. Now for after of a link, let's create it, or you know what, let's copy this before and paste it here. Now the top be a 53% and the left be a 50%. Set the width to 0 pixel and the height be a 2 pixel. We want to add a width in a hover. Now just let's change a background with a box shadow. Let's use this box shadow that we add for a square hover. So let me copy it. Okay, and now paste it. Good, everything is set. Now let's go for hover. Okay, I start with about text a hover. Inside it, add a border 2 pixel solid, color be a white, and the box shadow be this to have a white color. Okay, now for this little square, let me add a hover. About text a hover before. Now copy this background and the box shadow and paste it here to be a white. And the last for after hover, let's add a width for when a user hover the link, add the width and create it for this. Okay, this is a width, and let's add the z-index be a -1. Okay, now we go to style our blog. Okay, for blog, first let's add a padding 170 pixel and 0%. Display be grid. Grid template column be repeat to 1fr and a line item be center. Now add a grid gap be 50 pixel. And now let's go for the first box. Okay, I call it in a CSS. Now let me copy this display grid and paste it here. Now we want our first box have 2 boxes for every line. So we add a 2 1fr. Now let's add the position relative and grid gap be a 50 pixel. Good. Now let me add a space. So instead of adding more in a grid gap, let's use a grid row gap. So grid row gap be 150 pixel. Now as you can see, we add a space just between these 2 boxes and these 2 boxes. Okay, good. Now I can see about text is not have a space. We add the grid gap, but the problem is the text is now in a float left. So let's set the float to the right. Okay, above text, and add the float to the right to be a right. And now we fix the problem. Okay, now for a block box that have item here, let's call it, add the width for it and let be 100% and the height be 300 pixel and the text align be center and good. Now next is a square block to create a square. So let me again copy a square style that we have here. Okay, copy it and paste it in here. Let's change the name, be a square block. Okay, now let's remove the position and the top and the left. And for the width and the height, let be 145 pixel. And let's remove a transition because we don't need it. Just let's add a margin for it. So I add a margin 0 pixel, ITO, and 30 pixel, and ITO. And add a display block because we want the square be a center. And done. Now copy this square block and paste it here. Okay, good. Now let's change the name be circle block. And let's change the border radius be 15%. Good, very nice. Okay, and we done block of the style, about page and the hero page. And now let's go for the style of the contact section. Now for contact, add a display grid. Grid template column, repeat, 2, 1FR, and align item be a center. Now set the position be a relative and the grid gap 50 pixel. Okay, now we want to create a form style and we want all input be in another line. So let's use a flex direction. Let's call a form, add display flex, justify content center, align item center. And now add the flex direction column. And we get this. Okay, now let's style input. So let's first add the width and the height. And now for width be 300 pixel and for the height be 50 pixel. Margin 20 pixel, 0 pixel for the top and bottom. And copy and now copy background and the box shadow and paste it here. Now add a border radius 15 pixel. Now add a padding 20 pixel to let the placeholder be a center of input, as you can see it here. Now border 2 pixel solid and the color be gray. Add a transition 2. Okay, good. Now for text area, let's call it. Copy this input style and paste it here. Just change a height to 270 pixel. Now let's create input hover. So in an input hover, add the width be 330 pixel. Not too much to have a little width in hover. Okay, let's change a color of placeholder. So let's call it input placeholder. The color be this. And for text area hover, add the width 350 pixel. And we get this hover, as you can see it, and nice. Now for button, let's use the same style of a link. So let's copy the style of a link and paste it here. Let me find it. Yes, this. And now copy it and paste it. Now remove text decoration and add the width 200 pixel. Add the cursor pointer. Okay, just create a before CSS for a button. We don't need a square, so I just copy this about text A after. Let me find it. Okay, I found it. Now copy it and paste it here. Now let's change the name to button before. Okay, done. Now for hover, guys, first I start with the button hover. So add the width be 240 pixel to have a width. Add the border 2 pixel solid and hashtag E6, E9, F1. And the copy box shadow and paste it here. This is our button hover. Okay, now for button hover before. Okay, now let's add a width 300 pixel and done. Very good. Now last is a footer. Then we go for animation, square, and a circle. Okay, let's call the footer in a CSS. Add a display flex. Justify content, space between. Align item, center. Let's add a little space for top of a footer. So add the padding top 120 pixel. Be enough? Yeah, is good. Now, okay, next let's call a flex footer to add a display flex. Flex footer, display flex, right? Now all link of a footer in the same line. Now we want to add a flex direction column for a links. So let's call a cool and add display flex. Flex direction column. Now add a margin 0 pixel, 75 pixel for a left and the right to have a nice space for a links. And here is the result. And now we can see it. We have a nice links. Now let's go for the links to style it. Okay, call it in a CSS. Okay, call it in a CSS. Add this color for it. Okay, add the margin bottom 10 pixel. Text decoration, no. And the font size be a 1.2 rem for the links. Now let's add a font weight 2 and the transition and the position relative. Very good. Now let's get hover for it. Cool, A, hover. The color be white. This is a sample. Okay, now let's create a little square that is here as you can see in a video. So again, let's copy a square style that we have here. Let me find it. Okay, this is a square style. And now copy it and paste it here. Now change the name of a square and be a cool A after. Okay, let's change the top be a 72% and the left be a minus 28%. And for the width and the height be a 20 pixel. And now let's get hover of this square. When you hover the links, now add this box shadow of this. Very good. Now for copyright, let's call a last. Add a padding 0 pixel 10%. Now call copyright and add display flex if you have add links in this copyright. And add a position relative to add a before. Okay, now to create a before, we need to create a line between these links and this copyright. So we need to create a before of the copyright. Now let's copy this of after link and paste it here. Now instead of the width 0 pixel, let be 100% to create a link. And we don't create this beautiful website. Now it's time to create animation. Okay, first I start with the square animation. So animation, Kimi, 8 second, linear, forwards, infinite. Okay, now we add animation. Now let's add a keyframes, Kimi. Okay, let me explain how to do it. First is the 0%, add the transform and the border radius. Copy and paste it. This is a point of the start of animation, so we keep the same of the transform and the border radius. Now as you can see, the square is the same place, but it's keep rotated as you can see in a video. So in a 25%, we add a transform and the translate be the same. We don't need to move it to up or down. So let's change the rotate and be 85 degree. Good. Now in a 15% of the keyframes, copy and paste it here. Now change a rotate again to 120 degree. And now let's add a 51%. And by the way, if you don't know how to use a 51% animation, you can watch this video and you will learn how to use it perfectly. But we don't use the same step of the same animation keyframes. We want to learn something new. So in a 51%, copy and paste it. Now let's change again rotate to 150 degree. and add the border radius 50% to create a circle when you reach 51% of this animation. And this is important, guys. Don't add a border radius of 50% in these keyframes that we have here. Don't add it. If you do that, it will be bad animation. So keep it without border radius. Okay, so now we add a 75% and copy and paste it again. Let's add a rotate to 210 degree and change the border radius be a 15 pixel to go back in a square. Okay, now add 90% in a keyframes. Copy and paste it again. The border radius again be a 15% to create a circle for a square. And the rotate be a 0 degree. And the last is 100% be a same point of the start animation. So just copy this as 0% and paste it here. Very good. Now we create a nice animation of this square. It becomes a circle and become the square again. As you can see it here. It's beautiful, guys. Yep, the animation was very simple. Even beginner can learn it easily. If you want a better animation, in a part 2 you're gonna learn a skew animation, and also part 3 more and more animation. So please wait until I finish your create website. Thank you guys for watching this video. Now for circle animation. Now let's add a new animation of the circle. Now for circle animation, we will create a different animation. So let's create animation Kimi 2. Let's change the name to Kimi 2. 11 second, linear, forwards, infinite. And in a circle 2, copy and paste it. The time of animation be a 13 second. Now just copy these keyframes of the Kimi and paste it here again. And now change the name of the keyframes to Kimi 2 and change border radius. So let's change a border radius. In a 0% and 100% be a 15% because the point of the start is a circle, not a square. Now in a 25%, I want this circle go up. So in a translate, decrease a y to minus 100%. And this is x and this is y. Remember this? Very good. In a 50%, decrease a translate y be a minus 90%. And for translate x be the same for all keyframes. We don't need to change it to go right or left. So in a 51%, translate y again minus 85% and change the border radius to 50 pixel to become a square instead of circle. Okay, good. Now for 75% of the keyframes, let's change a translate y to minus 70% and the border radius be a 50%. And the last is 90%, translate y be a minus 60% and the border radius be a 50 pixel to create again a square. And we done a second animation, guys. This is a circle animation and this is a square animation. In a circle animation, it's go up and come back to the down. So now just add this animation to about text A before. The same animation of the circle 2. And that is a Kimi 2. And in a cool A after that we have a little circle that you can see here. Add animation Kimi of the square. Now we need to create a media for tablet and phone. Let's do it. Okay, let me start with this media of this number. Okay, let's recite the font and the section. So let's start with H3. Font size be a 1.4 rem. H1 font size be a 2.3 rem. And for this home title that we add a custom font size. Let's resize it. Okay, home text H1 3.2 rem. Okay, good. Now for the P, let's resize it to 1.1 rem. Okay, now let's add a header and reduce a padding of the left and right as you can see in the website. So the padding be 40 pixel, 8%. And for the project one that we added the padding to the left and right as you can see in inspect, add the padding is 0 pixel and 8%. And now for section, padding be 0 pixel, 8%, 170 pixel, 8%. This is a section of the padding. Now let's go in the next media. Okay, just reduce the font size of this H1 and a link. So H1 font size be 2.1 rem, and about text A font size be 1.0 rem. Now let's recite a circle and a square. So I start with a circle. We have a 100 pixel of the width and the height of this circle. Now reduce it to 80 pixel. And for a square, we have a 270 pixel, as we can see in the inspect of the width and the height. Let be a 240 pixel. Okay, good. Now for circle 2, that we have a width and the height 60 pixel, I reduce a little size from it and let be 45 pixel is enough. And now for about text A before, that we have a square. First, decrease a left to 135% and add the width and the height 40 pixel. Okay, next, about text A hover after. Remember, we add a width to create a line that we have here. Let me reduce it, the width. Okay, let me type it. Now reduce the width to 200 pixel instead of 225 pixel. And the last, let's reduce the margin of this called links here. So we have a margin 0, 75 pixel. Let be 0 pixel and 60 pixel. Okay, next media is for tablet. Copy this to reduce the font size and the padding and paste it. Now for H3 be a 1.2 rem, H1 be a 1.9 rem, and the max width be none. Home text H1 font size be a 3.0 and the P font size be 1.0 rem, and the max width be a none. We don't need a max width anymore. And now for padding of the section 0 pixel 6%, 170 pixel 6%. Okay, for header padding be a 40 pixel and 6%. Project 1 padding be a 0 pixel 6%. Okay, let's go for this block that we have a grid 2 box. Let me 1 instead of 2. I think it's better to have a good space and more style of this block. Okay, let's call a block and create template column. We repeat 1 5. Yeah, I think it's now much better. Now the second box that we have here, add the order a -1 to go in the top of our block. Yeah, better. And add the text align center. Yep, better. Yep, that's good. Okay, next is about text that have a float right. Set it to the float none. Okay, and for links, decrease a space of the margin. So call and the margin be a 0, 30 pixel. Okay, let's go for the font media. Again, copy this to reduce the font size and the padding. And now paste it. Okay, first, we don't need to decrease H3 and P, I think. Yes, delete it. Now for the H1, font size be a 1.7 rem. Home text H1, font size be a 2.8 rem. And the max width be a none. Okay, now for a section, let the padding be a 0 pixel 4%, 120 pixel 4%. Header be a 40 pixel 4%. And now decrease a padding of the margin of this menu that we have here. Yes, so the padding 10 pixel 20 pixel and the margin 0 pixel 5 pixel. Now for project 1, padding be a 0 pixel 4% and the grid template column be a 1 instead of 2. Yep, perfect. And add the text align center. For all the text be a center. Now the position of the circles is not good, I guess. What I mean by this, you can add a little tab for this circle to have a better position. So call the circle and the tab be a 0. And for the second circle, add the tab and be 114%. Yes. Good, now let's go for about and call about in a CSS grid template. Be a 1 4 and text align center. Okay, next display page that have here. Let me add it. Justify content be a center, and the flex section be a column to go in the next line for every box that we have here. Now next is a contact. Copy this grid template column and paste it. Good. with the text align center. And now for a footer, call in CSS and add the text align center. And now for a link, decrease a little size to 1.0 rem, so font size be a 1.0. And for cool A after that we have a little square, decrease a size and the left, so call a cool A after, add a left be a -8%, the width and the height be a 15 pixel, less media, and we're done our website. So copy this again and paste it. Now we don't need to H1 and the P, delete it. Okay, H3 font size be a 1.0 rem, and for home text H1 font size be a 2.6 rem. Now the section be a 0 pixel 2%, 50 pixel 2%. Header be a 2% instead of 4%. And for nav LIA, the padding that we have here, be a 10 pixel, and the margin be a 0 pixel 5 pixel. And for the hover of a nav LIA, let be a border radius be a 10 pixel. Now the project one that we have here be a 0 pixel 2%, and about text A font size be a 0.8 rem. Okay, I start with this square to reduce the size of the width and the height. So the square be at the width and the height be 220 pixel. And for this circle at the top a -22%. Now for our blog, first box that we have here, add the grid gap 10 pixel. Okay, first box, grid gap 10 pixel, and grid row gap 150 pixel. Okay, good. Now for footer, flex station be column. Yeah, I think it's much better for the footer. Now call cool to reduce a margin and be 0 pixel 20 pixel. Now for about text AP4 that we have this little square. Now let's decrease a little left to 123%, and the width and the height be a 30 pixel. Okay guys, we've done the first part of our website. Thank you for watching this video. If you love our design and our teaching, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button to help us to grow our channel. And see you in the next part of this part 2. And have a good day guys. Bye.